Good morning, this is Bando with Breakfast at Bando. I apologise for my disappearance recently. I got struck down with the dreaded coof and have been rather unwell for the last 2 weeks or so. So I thought I'd come back and make a video quickly. As with the announcement of Horus Heresy 2.0, there's been a lot of people wanting to use the Chaos Space Marines kit. Mainly because of this piece of artwork that I'm showing at the moment, which shows that the Sons of Horus are pretty much just Chaos Space Marines by the time we get to the Siege of Terra. And unfortunately this piece of artwork has a lot to answer for. Because these Chaos Space Marines, these aren't Heresy Marines. These are different. These are guys who have been fighting for 10,000 years, and they've had the effects of the warp on them, and they're not quite right for what is supposed to be an Imperial Civil War. But they can be made to look right, and it's quite simple. They do need just a little bit of work and a few part switches to make them work. So I'm just going to show you a couple of images from my own Sons of Horus, which has a couple of these guys in it. Starting with this guy here. Now this is a work in progress for a standard bearer for a command squad, and you can see here what I've done is I've tidied up the legs. This is the big one for these guys, really. You need to get rid of the large amount of the arrows, because the arrows is a post-heresy design. It's very much a chaos design. And you want to get rid of things like the 8-pointed stars. You want to reduce those as much as possible. I've left a couple of them on these guys because a lot of the people I've used them for are supposed to represent veterans, command squads, leaders, that sort of thing. And if anyone's going to have them on the Heresy, it's going to be those guys. But for your rank and file troops, arrows and stars, and anything that looks warp touched. Anything that is teeth growing out of stuff, you know, anything morphed, you're going to want to try and reduce that as much as possible. So you can see here what I've done is I've filed down the arrows. I've left the trim, but I try to keep some of the little spiky bits. I get rid of those, but I leave some because, you know, the Sons of Horus are quite a brutal army. So you file those smooth. I've still got one on the other leg to get rid of. And these guys, there's a couple of places you really need to replace for them. Heads, weapons, shoulder pads, power pack are the ones that will really change the look of the model. So you can see on here as well, one thing I've done, all of the Chaos Space Marines have this very fine point at the back of their collars, which works really well for Night Lords, not so much for Iron Warriors, Sons of Horus, or, you know, World Eaters. So I like to file that down flat and smooth. And obviously I've given him a power fist and a power axe, just because he's a standard bearer, he can take that. And here you can see the rest of the command squad, and the rest of the command squad is the same: heads, power packs, shoulder pads, and weapons. So they've got their shields, they've got their power axes, and then Mark V heads and studded shoulder pads, and Mark III backpacks. If you're going to do anything, swapping out those parts is the main one. Even if you're going to leave all the parts, all the arrows and the spiky bits, and you want to do a really late war army, that's fine. But swapping out the heads, the packs, and the weapons for Heresy era ones is going to really improve the look of your army. You don't want those sort of mutated and twisted Mark IV helmets that the new Chaos Space Marines have. You don't want horns on the helmets. The only place I can see that being an exception would be something like a Word Bearers army, where you wanted something you know, you were going like a Galvalback heavy army, and you wanted them to really look like they were heavily warp touched already. And even then, I would probably limit that to, you know, those sorts of heads to your sergeants and your veterans. And you can see here on the guys, I've trimmed down the legs. These are all actually made from the easy to build or monopose ones that come with the Shadow Spear box. The axes are 3D printed mostly. But yeah, I smoothed down the legs. If I was to do it again, I'd bulk the legs out with some green stuff because they've got this bit of a concave to them. And then there's one or two which actually have knee pads on, which I've smoothed down and then filled in the gap to give them that Mark 6 mono plate look. They do have some Mark 7 legs in there. If you're going to use those, you probably want to reshape the knee pad to be more squared off like Mark 4's, or make sure it's got the studs to make it look like Mark 5. Again, the pads, the backpacks, and the heads are all 3D printed. The shields are from the 40k breaches kit that came out before Heresy was even a thing. Then I've got a guy with a jump pack. The packs from the Raptors kit, which again, same rules. I've just trimmed away all of the spikes. I've trimmed away like all the chaosy bits. Same with his claws. I've tried to trim that down a bit as well. And yeah, keep you know, make sure he's got a 30k helmet on. In this case, it's a Mark IV with horsehair plume. The next guy, again, it's the same rules. It's you know, take the body, trim down as much on the legs as possible. I've left a Chaos Space Marine shoulder pad on this one. That's because it's one of the ones which is moulded onto the body. It's a little difficult to get rid of. Normally I would have, but I kind of wasn't in the mood to try and perform major surgery on this one. He's got a claw from the Raptors. The head is actually an Iron Warriors 40k. No, it's a 30k head for the Iron Warriors upgrade. But if you look at a lot of the old Collected Visions artwork for the Sons of Horus, there's a lot of guys with helmets and face paint that look very similar to this, so I wanted to go and use that. But normally I'd swap out all the pads. These kind of corrupted Mark III pads, they're good for word bearers, but not so great for anyone else. Again, then swap out the pack. Give them a top knot. Top knots are great for the Sons of Horus. And then we've got this guy, who's actually made from a Death Guard. And there's no difference. Death Guard kit's exactly the same. Trim off the gribbly bits, tidy it up, and then swap out the pack, the arms, the head, and the weapon. This guy is massive. He is huge compared to anyone else next to him. Which is a bit annoying, but it's okay. And then lastly, I've got a champion. Now, the champion I left a bit more of the greebles on because he's supposed to be a champion, and if anyone's going to be wearing, you know, the 8-point star and the skulls and the spikes and stuff, it's going to be him. But again, I tried to stick to the same rules: pads, pack, and helmet. He's got a Mark II helmet. He's got the Mark III pads and a Mark V, I believe, Mark VI backpack, which came from the Alpha Legion Praetor model, I think, with a cloak on it. Now, last up is this guy, and this is what I'm talking about. This is a Chaos Space Marine. Everything about him screams Chaos Space Marine. The head is not an identifiable Heresy mark of armour. The weapons are not Heresy. The shoulder pads are too warped. The backpack is all covered in weird greebly claws. Everything about him is Chaos Space Marine. This guy is 10,000 years old, fighting in the warp. He's not, you know, a traitor. He's not a rebel fighting against the Empire. So, look at this, look back at, the other ones, and then you can see what it is. You just kind of want to trim away the chaos. Lastly, I wanted to show off some of these guys, and these guys are from a guy called Kenny on the Outer Circles Discord. His Instagram, the green mat, is in the description below. He has done these absolutely fantastic Night Lords, and you can see he has done exactly what I've said. He swapped out the arms, he swapped out the shoulder pads, the heads, the packs, and the weapons, and tidied up the trim. These are some absolutely fantastic Night Lords. Absolute pleasure to look at these. Give him a follow, have a look at his Instagram. We've got some brilliant Iron Snakes of Ithaca on there as well. Yeah, you can see here, and it works really well for the Night Lords because of how kind of rogue they were to begin with. But yeah, fantastic. Lastly, the Primaris Marines. Just don't. It's too much work. Just don't. Alright, I've been Bando. I'm still sick, but I'm getting there. Love you. Bye-bye.